Just briefly, just an overview of what it will be like. First off, this is level 3, so I hope all of you that are signed on today are expecting level 3. Each Thursday we'll do math, and it will be at 10 o'clock. Each week there will be a class work, and we'll do that together, or you can do it ahead of time. It'll be posted on Google Classroom. Beth, is Miss Jackett's taking care of all of that. Then after we do the classwork each week, Ms. Jackett will post the homework, and it's due by the next Wednesday. So you have 2 things due each time. The classwork we'll do together if you don't see it. If you want to work it, it'll be posted a day ahead of time on Wednesday, usually. So if you want to try ahead, that's fine. But if you want to wait until we do it, that's fine as well. The topics I've picked are all topics that you could see on the ACT, on the map, on college courses. And my hope is I picked some things that at least in part will be a review for you. And then in part, some of it will be new for you as well. Take advantage of Carissa in your study hall. Hi, Carissa. She's pretty good, and she has my number she needs to call. So just take advantage of that. All of this are things that you can do and things that you'll need. If you notice, I look a little tired. Last night, I probably stayed up too late. I'm sure some of you did that as well. I was reading a math and physics book on antimatter, and I couldn't put it down. It was on antimatter. Beth, are you smiling on that? That was from Mrs. Jackett's, Beth. See, it was on anti-gravity and I couldn't put it down. Okay, I can see.
That was a good one.
Thank you. Someone needs to say that before I go on. Hi, Tyler. Tyler, if you would, you just joined us. Below on chat, type your name in and to everyone so Beth, Mrs. Jackett can take attendance. I'm going to go now and share the screen. If you have questions, type them in the chat, and Carissa will stop me every now and then to answer your questions. The lessons, we only have 45 minutes each Thursday, so I go at a good pace, but remember, these will be recorded and posted again if you want to listen to them again. I'm going to share the screen and go to the smart board. John, if you can hear me okay, give me a nod. Okay, I've got my volume turned up as much as it can be. This is week 1, level 3. So I usually open up about 5 minutes till. So if you're looking at the recording, go about 5 minutes in, and it always, if you're on the right one, it'll say the week, just like we have here. And you'll know that's the one you want. If you have a question and don't see it, I would look on how much time you're into it so you can go to it fairly quickly. That's what I do anyway when I do on Zoom and want to see it. The objectives today are series and sequences. It's very common to see this on the ACT and SAT and on maps, series and sequences. And some of this I hope was review, but some of it may be new for you as well. The first time we're going to look at are types of series and sequences, and there's many different types, but we're going to look at arithmetic, geometric, and then it may be neither. Those are 3 categories. Even though there's many more categories, those are the most common that we have. So the types, so that's identifying. We'll also look at terms. In other words, a sub 1 would say what is the first term in that series. Or what is the 51st term? What's the 1000th term? How do you do that? And there's several ways to look at that, and we'll talk about that. We're going to look at the sum of terms. In other words, what would be the sum of the first 10 terms, or the first 20 terms, or the first 1,000 terms? How do you do that mathematically? And then we're also going to study, which is overall in mathematics, if you're given an equation, can you read it and apply it? That's called technical reading. And it's become so important in our society to be able to do that. And we're going to do it with equations. Can you look at an equation, go over it, see some examples and then run it through yourself. Okay, here's the first thing I want you to take in your notes. We're going to use this today and later on. I've given two different types of equations, arithmetic, and I want you to copy this down in your notes, and we'll talk about it. And then over here in the second column, I did geometric. I want you to take a minute or two and copy that in your notes. We're going to use that today. So have those two equations ahead of you. I'll give you about a minute to copy those down. And we're going to do some technical reading and look at those and see if we can translate them and make sense with them numerically. So right now, just get this little matrix copied down, and then we're going to see how to use it. So I'm going to take a 1 minute timeout while you get that in your notes. All right, I hope you have that in your notes, and I'll put it back up on the screen too when we get ready to use it. But those are the two of the categories of equations we're going to use and try to do some technical writing and technical reading mathematically. All right, let's look at some examples before we go to the classwork today, the sheet that's already posted, but let's look at some examples. Here's three good examples of the ones that we'll look at. Arithmetic, the one in red. Arithmetic, there's things you should be able to identify. One is D. What is the common difference? And if you look at these right here, from 3 to 7 is 4. From 7 to 11 is 4. From 11 to 15 is 4. So if you said it was arithmetic, you ought to be able to tell me what the difference is. In this case, it's 4. Listed there, now it depends, sometimes they may not list any. Usually they list the first one, and on this one, if I were to ask what is a sub 1, it's given. A sub 1 is 3. What's a sub 2? Well, a sub 2 is 7. What is a 1012? Now that's a harder question, you don't do that. So we'll look at that here in just a second. But if it's arithmetic, like this one, there's a common difference. We're going to look at those here in a little bit. So D means difference. The next one is geometric. Now in geometric, they won't ask for D, but they'll ask for R. What is a common ratio? And in other words, I think of it as multiplication or division. In other words, what would I multiply 2 by to get 4? Well, it's 2. Well, does it hold? What do you multiply 4 by to get 8? Well, 2 works again. What do you multiply 8 by to get 16? 2 works again. Again, they would say, what is a sub 1? The first one is always important. A sub 2 here is 4. But what is a 23? Well, I don't know, but we can certainly figure that out, and we'll do that today. But if you say it's geometric, it has a common ratio, and it's referred to as R in the equations. Here's a case, the third one, it's neither. It's not arithmetic or geometric. You say, well, how do you know that, Mr. B? Well, first I test for, is it arithmetic? Is there a common difference? Well, this difference is 3. This difference is 5. Oh, it doesn't hold. It changes. It can't do that. Let's see if there's a common ratio. I can multiply 1 times 4 if there's a ratio, but I have to multiply 2 and 1/4 to get 9. Well, the ratio breaks, so it's not geometric either. It's just neither. Now, they might ask some different questions. This would be hard, first off, a sub 1 is not hard. It's 1. A sub 2 is 4. And you might notice this is a very common one. The terms are n squared. In other words, the first term is 1 squared, this is 2 squared, 3 squared, 4 squared. So it's not as hard as they look sometimes. But this category, when they're neither arithmetic or geometric, they can be difficult, very difficult at times. Well, there's kind of introduction. Let's take a look at some examples. All of you right now, take 15 seconds and tell me what type of series and sequence, and it's multiple choice. It's either arithmetic, geometric, or neither. Even though there's many more types than that, those are the three that we're looking at today. Take 15 seconds and see if you can figure out which one it is. Five, four, three, two, one. I wish I had the music from Jeopardy while we're doing this, but oh well, just have to wait. Did you get it? I think it's arithmetic, but let's check and see if that's correct. Arithmetic means there's a common difference. What's the common difference between 20 and 16? It's -4. What's the common difference between 16 and 12? Well, it's -4 again. And -4, yep. Sure looks like it. I think the answer would be multiple choice arithmetic. Now they might ask you on this, once you identify it, oh, it's arithmetic, oh, then what's a sub 3? Right now, take 5 seconds and get in your mind and tell me what you think a sub 3 is on this series right here. What was a sub 3? Did you say 12? Because it is. This is A right here, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and all the common differences, so on down. Now they might ask for a higher one. In other words, that was given on this right here. Next, we'll have to look, well, what's A sub 72? What's the 72nd term in there? I don't know, but we'd sure have to figure it out. That's where we're going to do a little technical reading and technical writing. Let's look at another example. If this series right here is arithmetic, so they could just ask us to identify it. They could ask us for a term just like I did, a sub 1, that's given, which was 20 here. However, they might ask for a sub 6. Now, a sub 6 is not so bad. Go ahead and everybody find a sub 6. Is it 0? Is that right? Many times, I see it a lot on the ACT. Students will do problems like this and they'll just go ahead and count. They said, well, it's arithmetic. And I know that the common difference here is -4, it's going down. So here is A, here's the first, the second, the third, the fourth. The fifth term's not given by, just subtract 4. The sixth term, which was asking for, I'd subtract 4 more and 0. And there's nothing wrong with that, and that works. However, more often than not on the ACT, I'll see this. What is A sub 30? I don't know, it's some big negative number. And it just, what they're wanting you to do on a question like that, they're wanting you to use the formulas. And I would look to see those given. Here is what I want you to read first. It's arithmetic, and it says a sub n is given to us by this formula. All right? So I know it's arithmetic. They give me a formula, and I'm wanting to read it to find the 30th term. So let's see if we can do that together. In this case, a sub n equals 30. So that was given in a way. It says it equals a sub 1, so I'm going to need a sub 1. And it was given in this case. They give us a So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the first term was 20. Then it says n minus 1 in D. Well, I haven't written down D, so I better do that. Common difference was negative 4. So now then, I've read the equation, identified the terms. Now I'm going to see if I can figure out what a sub 30 is. So I'm going to use this information right here in this equation. Let's see if we can follow that and do that together. A 30 we're looking for. That was this right here. It equals whatever term you start with, a sub 1. Well, we had that written down, and it was 20 plus n minus 1. Well, n is 30. I know that 30 minus 1 is 29. Times d, the difference. Well, the difference is negative 4. So I put in all the values that was asked for in this equation. And I know if I can do the algebra correctly, it'll give me the 30th term. Everybody finish the green out. Tell me what that is. Everybody take your, I hope you have your calculator ready. Go ahead and do that and tell me what you think the 30th term is. Give you about 10 seconds. Did you get it? I think it's negative 96. Negative 96. Now, I hope that seemed okay to you, but this is what I do. I was always very skeptical when I would see equations like this. And if I'm not sure of it, in other words, I'm thinking, I think it's negative 96, but I have a question if I did that correctly. Here's what I would do. I would do a very simple problem. In other words, I hope this is not the first time you've seen these equations, but if it is, before I put this down and say, oh, that's my answer on the test, or oh, I'm handing this in to my boss, I would say, I'm going to do a simple one and use this equation again on one that I know the answer of. What I mean by that is this. Let's see what a sub 3 is. Now, I already know the answer. A sub 3 is 12. But I'm going to use this formula again right here and see if it works for the third term. A sub 3 equals the first term. Well, that's still 20. N is 3. Well, 3 minus 1 is 2. And the common difference is negative 4. Well, I don't even need a calculator for that. That's 20 plus a negative 8. My golly, I think I did do it correctly. So many times I would do a simple one where I already know what the answer is to do a harder one that I wasn't sure. Let's go on and do another example. Let's look at another example on this. I know there may be some questions, but identify that. What type of equation is that? And again, it's multiple choice. The only three that we're looking at today is arithmetic, geometric, or neither one. Everybody give that a shot. See which one you think it is. Well, do you have it? You have your answer? First off, I thought, well, is it arithmetic? From 40 to 20 is 20. From 20 to 10 is 10. Oh, no, it's not. There's not a common difference. It changes. So next I looked and said, well, is it geometric? Is there a common ratio? What do I multiply 40 by to get 20? A half. What do I multiply 20 by to get 10? A half. What do I multiply 10 by to get 5? A half. If you said geometric, you were correct. You said geometric, you're correct. if it's geometric, things you ought to be able to answer is this. What is a sub 1? You have 3 seconds. Time's up. It was given 40. What is the ratio? 3 seconds. Yeah, we already said it. It's 1/2. Now myself, I like ratios like 2 and 3. My favorite ratio is 1. You just keep multiplying by 1, a constant geometric ratio. But here it's a fraction and you can't get around that. So if I was going to answer questions about this, I would use these right here, these equations. Well, let's do one with this. Let's do another example. Now, I know I'm going kind of fast, but I only have 40 minutes, and when I get to the classwork, I'll slow down and we can ask some questions too. Well, I'll be able to ask some questions. But let's look at this geometric one and answer some questions. What is S sub 4? What's the sum of the first 4 terms? Well, if I'm going to do the equations, I would use that equation right here. Now, the reason I didn't, I could have asked for S sub 40. Okay? That's a harder, much harder question, but let's do one here that's a little easier. If I wanted to, I could do that hand. But here in a second, we're going to use this right here and do some technical readings, some technical writing as well. But let's just add these up. 40 and 20 are 60. 60 and 10 are 70. 70 and 5 are 75. The answer to that is 75. But let's see if we can do it with the technical writing, using the equation that's given right here. Let's see if we can use this and come up with the same answer. I want S sub 4. And we already think it's 75, but let's do the technical part of it. It says it's A sub 1. Do you know what A sub 1 is? Well, I hope so. It's 40. It's given. It says times 1 minus the ratio. What was the ratio? It was 1/2. And it's to the n pi. So that's 4. And it's all divided by 1 minus the ratio. Well, you might want to use your calculator. I'm going to go ahead and say the numbers. Let's see if we work this out. It's going to be 40 times 1 minus 1/2 to the 4th power. That's 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2. That's 1/16. 1 minus 1/16 1 is 16/16 minus 1/16 is 15/16. So I have 40 times 15/16 over 1 minus 1/2 is 1/2. Equals, when you divide fractions, you invert and multiply. So now then, instead of dividing 1/2, I'm going to say times 2. 2 divides into 16 8 times. 8 goes into 45 times. 5 times 15. Oh my goodness, it really works. Now, most of you would say, I don't understand, Mr. B. Why in the world would you do this when you could just add those? I probably wouldn't. But sooner or later, they're going to ask you for one that you cannot do without understanding how to do technical writing and follow equations. And we're going to do some more examples here in a second. But there was a term. This is the equation for term. This is the equation for sum. And we'll do some more examples here in a little bit. All right, before I start the classwork that we're going to do together, are there any questions you want to ask so far? Unmute yourself and go ahead and ask away. If not, we're going to go right into the classwork examples of how the homework will look. Any questions anybody wants to ask?
How do you do the last part that you just did? Because I'm confused.
Do more on the last one I just did?
Yeah, because I'm confused. I don't understand what you did.
Okay. I am, and the degrees that I have are in math and physics. So I like this sort of thing. Math and physics is just loaded with technical writing, Brittany. And here, you're given only two, I want to give you two choices, arithmetic or geometric. So the first step would be decide, where am I? Which side do I go to? That's the first case, okay? So I'm going to put one up here in a second, and I want everyone again to decide which way do we go? Is it geometric or arithmetic? And then we're going to decide if whichever side we go to, do I want to use a sub n or the sum? We'll look at that as well. But first step is just deciding on which way you go. And let's say that this is given 1, 2, 4, 8, and on to infinity and beyond. Everybody decide if we're going to use arithmetic or geometric equations. Everybody decide. You have 10 seconds. Well, let's discuss this together and see if you have your answer. I first checked, is it arithmetic? There ought to be a common difference. How far from 1 to 2? There's 1. 2 to 4, oh, no. It's not geometric, or it's not arithmetic, because there's not a common difference. The next difference is 4. It changes each time, so it's not arithmetic. Well, is it geometric or neither? What do I multiply 1 by to get 2? It's 2. What do I multiply 2 by to get 4? It's 2. What do I multiply? Oh, it's geometric. There's a common ratio. The ratio is 2. It's called the doubling series. Okay? Is there a question about that before I go on? So I have to decide which type of equation. Now understand this. In real life, there's just equation after equation, technical reading after technical reading. But usually, it's kind of like when you buy a new cell phone. You have a manual and some sort of guidance that gets you within 2 or 3 equations, and then you go ahead and pick the one you want. In other words, on the new iPhone 10, how do I set the time? How do I set the alarm? Well, you go there and it has several options. So that's what we're trying to do today. Now, what is the question? What am I trying to do? I know it's geometric. And the question is here, what is a sub 12? What is the 12th term? Well, I know then I want to use this equation right here because it says a sub n. And I'll write down the things that this equation needs. A sub 1 is 1. Says so right here. I know the common ratio is 2. I figured that out here. You multiply 1 times 2 to get 2. You multiply 2 times, so I know the ratio. So now then, I'm going to try to do technical reading right here and the technical writing of it. So I want a sub 12. A sub 12 will equal. Now, if I wanted to, I could go like this. Here's 4. Everybody do 5. Well, it's 16. Do 6, well, it's 32. Well, that gets old after a while. What if it was a sub 120? You need to be able to read the equations. Okay, it says take a sub 1. Well, I know what a sub 1 is. It's 1. Multiply it by, it says the ratio, well, the ratio is 2, and take it to the power of n minus 1. Well, n was 12, a sub n is 12. So 2 is to the 12 minus 1, or 11th power. 1 is the multiplicative identity, so it's 2 to the 11th. What is 2 to the 11th? I don't know. I think I'd pick up a calculator and say 2 to the 11th power. And that is 2,048 is the answer. Not an easy question. That's definitely a level 3. But again, what they're wanting you to see is to be able to read equations instead of doing it back the way we would have done in middle school. In other words, here's the first term, a double, 16, 32, next one 64, 128. Any better? Unmute yourself if you have a question. Let's go to the classwork. Let's see what some actual problems and how they'll look. I can see that that isn't going as well as I'd hope, but that's okay. Everybody do number 1. What type of sequence is this? On homework today, right off the bat, they'll give you a sequence and they want to know what time. And it's a multiple choice, just like we've been working. See if you can pick out the type. Okay, let's see if you have your answer. First, I look to see, is there a common difference? It has to be in common. From 48 to 12, you have to go back negative 36. From 12 to 3 is a negative 9. No, it's not arithmetic. Next, I look for geometric. If it's not those, I would say neither. What do I multiply 48 to get 12? Well, the answer is 1/4. What do I multiply 12 by to get 3? That's 1/4. What do you multiply 3 by to get 3/4? It's 3/4. So the answer to this one would be, it is a geometric series. That's all they asked for on that one. Now, they could ask, what is the next term? What's the 5th term? What's the sum of the first 2 terms? And on the questions go. Okay, let's go to number 2. In this arithmetic, hold it right there. They told us it's arithmetic. So they cut the word half in for me. It says a sub 1 is 10. The difference is 4. What is the 8th term? Let's do that 2 different ways. Let's do it the way I would expect a middle school student to do it. They would say, I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I want the 8th term. I know what the first one is. It's 10. The difference is 4. 14, 18. Oh, is there 4 here? Yes. Is different 4 here? Yes. What's next one? 22. What's next one? 26. What's next one? 30. 34, 38. I think the answer is C. Now, that's one way to do it. But eventually, they get so complex, you've got to be able to do the technical reading and technical writing. Let's do this one with the equation. I know it's arithmetic, and then I want a term. So I look up the equation. Not, math is not to memorize those, it's to be able to look them up and use them. Arithmetic. A sub n equals a sub 1 plus n minus 1 times d. You understand where I got that out of that? In other words, this right here I looked up arithmetic and I wanted the term. Had to pick it out. Now, doing the technical reading, I've read it. Let's do the writing part of it. In other words, let's solve the equation. I want a sub 8. It told me that right here. And it equals a sub 1. Well, it told me that right here. 10 plus n. And n right here in the problem is 8. Okay? 8 minus 1 times the difference. And the difference is a positive 4 here. So I have 10. 7 times 4. Order of operations, we have to do that first. 4 times 7 is 28. 28 and 10 is still 38. So that's two different ways to do that. One, just by counting, and the other is, which is probably a lot more important in our society, is the technical reading and technical writing. Let's do number 3. Everybody try that. In this geometric, oh, they told us it's geometric, and they've given us 4 terms. What is the ratio in a sub 1? Go, see if you can figure that one out. That's all they asked for. You have 10 seconds. Three, 2, 1. Well, a sub 1 is 32. Well, it better be this one because it's the only one that has 32 in it. Is the ratio 1/4? Let's see, 32 divided by 4 is 8. 8 divided by 4 is 2. Oh, yeah, it really does work. And that's all they asked for there. So the answer was C. Let's go to number 4. In this geometric, oh, it said it again, it's geometric. What is the value of a sub 6? Okay? Now I could, if I wanted to, try to do the counting. Why is it geometric? Can right now, before I get started, can you tell me what the ratio is? Can you look at these 3 terms and tell me what the ratio is? Got it? It's 3. A sub 1 is 1. Okay? And on this problem, n, they want the, right here, 6th term. So I'd go on that little matrix and I'd say, well, it's geometric. And I want the value of a sub 6. So a sub 6, doing my technical writing now, a sub 6 equals a sub 1, is what the equation says, times the ratio to the power of n minus 1. Let's see if we can keep going on the writing. So I want a sub 6, it equals a sub 1, 1, times the ratio. Well, the ratio is 3. I'm going to take it to a power. N was 6. 6 minus 1 is 5. So a sub 6 is, and I might go to the calculator, might do it by hand. Go ahead and finish the problem up. Got it? $243. Then I look at my multiple choice. Yep, sure enough, it was up there. It's B. So I hope it's making more sense how I'm reading those equations. Let's go on to the second page. What is a sub 50 of this sequence? Everybody, you got to identify which is it. What kind of series is it? You got it? I always start with arithmetic, and sure enough, this is arithmetic. Does that make sense? From 4 to 10 is 6. 10 to 6 is 16. 16 to 20 is 6. I want a sub 50. Well, I'm going to try to use the equation. I know it's arithmetic, and it says that a sub n, I just look in that little matrix, is a sub 1 plus n minus 1 times the common difference. Well, let's see if we can do the writing here. On this, I want a sub 50. So it's going to equal a sub 1. Well, they give me a sub 1 is 4. N in this problem was 50. So I'm going to take 50 minus 1. That's 49 times the common difference. Well, the common difference is positive this time, and it's 6. So I'd take 49 times 6. That's almost 300, and add 4. That is this. Probably, and by the way, I just guessed then, but I probably ought to pick up a calculator and do the arithmetic. Take about 5 seconds to do that arithmetic. See if my guess was right. Do you agree? 298? All right, let's look at number 6. What is the sum of the first 30 terms? Well, I could say 1 plus 3 is 4, 4 and 5 is 9. 9 is, no, that's not what they want you to do. They tell you on this, it is arithmetic. So I look there and look at sum and arithmetic, and it says sum of a certain number of terms equals n over 2 times a sub 1 plus a sub n. Well, on this one, the trick, they haven't given us this right here. So I have to find a sub 30. So this involves both equations, and that is a sub 1, just looking at the equation, plus n minus 1 times difference. That's exactly what we did on question number 5. That's exactly what I was doing, find what a certain term is. So if I did this, in other words, I need this right here, that's this answer right here. So a sub 30 is going to equal the first term, which is 1. N is 30 minus 1, which is 29. What is the common difference? Can you tell me? It's 2. So 29 times 2 is 58 plus 1 is 59. So now I'm ready to come over here and get my answer here. The sum of the first 30 terms is n 30 over 2. The first term, a sub 1 was 1, plus the 30th term, which is 59. Half of 30 is 15 times 60. 60 times 15, 0, 30, carry 3, 900. The answer is C. The answer is C. The last one, I'm out of time. I want to stick close to the time there. I have time for just one question if you want to unmute yourself. The best advice that I can give you, I'm going to unshare my screen. The best advice I can give you is study hall. Carissa has my number, and I don't mind the calls, Carissa, and we've already talked about that. Try them all before you just say I can't do any of it. Some of them are just asked for what kind of series or what is the ratio. And I will say this: if you've never seen this or been asked to do technical writing and technical reading, it's difficult. I know it's difficult, but in our society, we value that. Are there any last minute comments before we end this one? I would also encourage you, if you want, to look at the recordings that will be posted, I think, on YouTube. Is that right, Daniel? Okay. So sometimes you want to look at them more than once. Any last minute comments or questions?
Don't be afraid to ask. I'm here to help. We'll give you my email. I don't know if everyone has it, but I'm here to help if we want to do that, as well as study halls too.
I hope you all heard that. And by the way, if you haven't, please, before I close here in just 1 minute, under chat, put your name down if you haven't, if you were late signing in, so Mrs. Jacket can get your attendance. If you haven't, please put chat and just type your name in.